Temu didn't just launch an online store, it launched an invasion. Think I'm overreacting? Well, let me tell you, in just 2 years, Temu has taken millions of customers from Amazon, from eBay, Walmart and Shein. They've spent over $3 billion in marketing to absolutely flood the internet. And they've shipped billions of ultra cheap products straight from Chinese factories to your front door. And they've made Western retailers scramble to keep up. And here's the kicker. Temu isn't even trying to make a profit because it's backed by a Chinese tech company that already did this once before, and they won. So how did a company most people hadn't even heard of in 2022 become one of the most downloaded apps in the world? This is the story of Temu, its ultra-powerful parent company Pinduoduo, and how they're changing the future of global e-commerce. In 2021, the company Pinduoduo's GMV hit approximately $383 billion. And in 2023, it moved its legal base to Dublin in Ireland. But why are we talking about a company called Pinduoduo? Well, to understand Temu, you have to understand Pinduoduo, its parent company, and one of the most disruptive e-commerce companies in Chinese history. In fact, scrap the Chinese bit. In history, period. It was founded in 2015 by Colin Huang, a former Google engineer and investment banker who understood both Silicon Valley growth tactics and Chinese consumer behavior. Back then, Alibaba and JD.com dominated Chinese e-commerce. Amazon closed its domestic marketplace in China on July 18th, 2019, but it was never really a serious competitor in China. Alibaba was the everyman selling everything and anything to everybody, which it still does. And JD.com was like the Amazon of China and was exceptionally good for city dwellers, where it offered ultra-fast delivery, including same-day delivery if you ordered before 11 a.m. And it still does that. In fact, JD.com should be a case study in incredible logistics and speed. But Pinduoduo targeted a totally different audience: rural, lower-income shoppers. And yeah, despite all the bright lights and the major cities that are here in China, there is still a lot of low-income shoppers. And it made them feel like they were winning a game, not just buying products, literally a game. Let me explain. Their formula: team purchases, discounts when you convince friends to buy with you, gamification, free items, coupons, lucky draws, cheap prices, often lower than Alibaba or JD.com, and social sharing via WeChat turned every user into a promoter. Now let me explain how that works in the real world and how even I was a part of it. Here's the example, and this literally happened to me loads of times. Person A decides they want to buy a product. Let's just use a garden lawnmower as an example. He or she chooses the garden lawnmower they want on Pinduoduo. It costs, for example, 1,000 RMB. But in the description, it says, if you can get 10 of your friends to help you buy this, we'll knock the price down to 700, 600, perhaps even 500 RMB, maybe 50% off. They click yes, they choose 10 of their friends that they send the link to on WeChat. Now, I'm one of those friends. I may not have even heard from this person in months or years, but because they've got my WeChat contact, they send it to me. Should I help them? I probably do help them. I'm a super nice guy. I open the link and then I have to give my details. I probably have to register an account for Pinduoduo. And then when I do that, I literally play a game. It's probably any game. I'm hitting a hedgehog, I'm cutting a hedge, whatever it is, but I'm doing this on my mobile phone after I've given my details and I've become a user for Pinduoduo. That's the key, right? And in doing so, one of those 10 people, that person A who wanted a lawnmower, gets that cheap lawnmower. And what have Pinduoduo got? They've got 10 new users. Incredible, right? And that's literally how it works. Guys, if you were in China at that time or in China now, or you've experienced a Pinduoduo link, please let me know about it in the comments below. What did you buy for yourself that you got other people to help you with? Or what did you help other people to buy for a cheaper price? Please let me know. That's how it works. That's Pinduoduo. That's sending the links. It's literally again. By 2018, Pinduoduo had over 300 million users. It IPO'd on the Nasdaq just 3 years after launching, raising $1.6 billion. But that money didn't sit in the bank. That's not what Pinduoduo does. Remember, Pinduoduo is Temu's parent company. It went straight into subsidies, ad spend, and user acquisition. The same strategy Temu is now using globally. By 2021, some estimates had Pinduoduo having more users than Alibaba. It was a digital ambush, and now they're doing it again outside China. Temu was launched in September 2022, starting in the US. Within 12 months, it had become the #1 shopping app in over 40 countries, the most downloaded free app in the US on both iOS and Android, and the single biggest threat to Amazon's low price dominance. Now get ready for a crazy marketing budget. Temu spent more than $3 billion in 2023 alone on advertising. Think Super Bowl ads, TikTok influencer campaigns, App Store search hijacking, endless YouTube pre-rolls. You couldn't escape it. And it worked. In the first quarter of 2024 alone, Temu averaged over 50 million monthly active users in the US alone. Temu isn't just cheap because it wants to be. It's cheap because it cuts out almost everyone, and that gives it massive pricing power. Now, I know a lot about this because I actually sell products on Temu's UK site. So I can tell you, when Temu first entered international markets, it did try to get rid of most wholesalers or middle merchants. It did that by contacting factories direct, and it mainly worked. But Temu eventually realized that not every factory owner wants to be running its own marketing and running a Temu account and likely losing its long-standing wholesale customers in the process. It's one thing to do it in China, in Chinese, it's another in foreign markets. So Temu had to be flexible, but it still demanded low prices that cut most wholesalers out of the picture anyway. Its other method of cutting away what they considered to be the extra unnecessary layers were to really squeeze hard on the delivery times to customers. And if you didn't meet the targets they set, they actually fined you. Sellers weren't used to this, and at the time, Temu was growing so fast and was only concentrating on the customers rather than giving the sellers much support, apart from fining them if they didn't deliver inside a very strict time frame. And at the time, my business partners and other people across the industry tried to avoid working with Temu, sticking with other platforms like eBay and Amazon. However, in the last 2 years, something has changed. One, Temu has started to look after its sellers, even if they are wholesalers, and got rid of those crazy delivery timeframe fines, treating them more like partners rather than sort of squishies that they can squeeze out as much that they can. And number two, their crazy marketing budget has taken market share from its competitors. I know companies that were doing millions of pounds in trade on eBay UK, and now it's become hundreds of thousands, if that. Temu just became too big to ignore. Temu's app is designed a little bit like a casino. You've got spin to win wheels, you've got cashback coins and daily login bonuses. This is addictive by design. It mimics Pinduoduo's user interface, which was optimized by over 1 billion Chinese users. Everyone likes a bargain, especially if you feel like you've worked hard to get it. Oh, and you know who else tends to be in the low income bracket? Kids. Less money to spend than adults, but still want a new pair of headphones and don't mind playing games to get a better deal. In fact, they like playing games. Oh, and you know we talked about Temu being cheap? Well, some of its products actually lose money. It's all done on purpose to gain market share. The technical term being a loss leader or loss leader pricing. And there is this idea that they don't sell big brand products, but that also isn't true. And they often, at least I've seen this in China, sell a new iPhone or a DJI drone at a much cheaper price. But first, you have to get all your friends to click on the link and help you knock down the price. To them, this is just a marketing cost, selling way below recommended retail price, but getting all those friends to start using Pinduoduo for the first time or again. Temu is in over 45 countries now, but its success varies dramatically. Temu is estimated to have some 140 to 150 million monthly active users globally, though total app downloads exceed 500 million. In the UK, they're sort of winning. Over 17 million active users as of early 2024 and 21 minutes per day on the app. That's more than double Amazon's average. Why? Well, strong growth due to post-Brexit inflation. Plus, have you heard of the cost of living crisis? Plus, there's not that much competition in Britain. And also, British users are willing to wait longer for lower prices. Temu now is in the top 3 UK shopping apps alongside Amazon and eBay. And as I told you from my own personal experience, it has already taken a lot of market share from eBay recently and is still taking a lot from Amazon. In the US, they had an explosive start, but tougher retention. In the US, it averages around 50 to 60 million monthly active users, with total sessions much higher. It constantly or repeatedly hits number 1 on the App Store, but faces headwinds. So you've got your privacy concerns, and we'll talk about that later as well. Slower shipping than a lot of people are used to. And of course, a media backlash over Chinese ownership, ongoing US government security. I will get to that. But why is Temu doing better in the UK than the US? One reason is there's less saturation from Amazon Prime in the UK. In America, more people have that Amazon Prime. They're tied to Amazon a bit more. And another reason is in the UK, the largest Temu shoppers, well, it's really the very, very young, and I can't call them very, very old, but the 55 plus are really enjoying that sort of gamified user interface. And so far, that isn't so sticky with American users. In France and Germany, a bit of a slower climb. Local competitors like Zalando, Otto and Decathlon already offer low-cost goods. Temu is growing, but shipping times and trust issues slow adoption. Guys, I'd love to hear from anyone who has used Temu in any country. What are the adoption rates like in your country and who is using it? From a British perspective, I think Temu follows a little bit of the Lidl and Aldi story. So at first, people didn't want to be seen shopping there. There is that funny story of a kid wearing Lidl shoes, but crossing out Lidl and writing Waitrose on them instead. I don't even know if Lidl sells shoes, but it illustrates my point. Especially if you're a British person, you'll understand that example, I hope. But nowadays, with the cost of living crisis in the UK, anyone and everyone is happy to shop in Lidl and Aldi. It's the same for Temu. What's it like in your country? Please let me know in the comments below. Now let's talk numbers, the figures. Temu in 2023. So your GMV, your gross merchandise volume of $16 billion. Estimated 2024 GMV, $27 to $30 billion. An ad spend, and we've spoken about this, of $3 billion. Active users globally, over 140 million. Now, PDD Holdings 2024, so Pinduoduo, revenue of over $50 billion. A net income of well over $8 billion, and by some reports, as much as $15 billion. A market cap of well over $100 billion. That was of 2025 or mid 2025. And the stock price, over a 200% gain since Temu launched. Temu isn't publicly traded, but its parent company, PDD Holdings is listed on the Nasdaq under PDD. In 2024, it made somewhere between $50 and $70 billion in revenue, and its share price hovers around sort of mid-90s to sort of 100, 105. I think that's what it was this morning. And its major shareholders include BlackRock, Vanguard, and of course founder Colin Huang, who still owns about 28%. We've talked about the positives, at least for Temu and its holding company PDD. But let's talk about the negatives and the risks. Temu's rise comes with real concerns. I'm going to read a few and then tell you my opinion on them. So, labour and sourcing issues. Some suppliers are reportedly linking them to forced labour. You've got data privacy, similar scrutiny as TikTok over data sharing with Chinese servers. You've got counterfeit and unsafe products, limited quality control. You've got tax avoidance accusations, exploiting low-value import loopholes. In 2024, the US House Select Committee flagged Temu as a potential national security risk. Now, let me tell you my thoughts. Most of these concerns, at least in my opinion, can be shrugged off as just the US and relevant departments getting their knickers in a twist about a foreign competitor doing better than a homegrown company. And not just a foreign company or competitor, but a Chinese company at that. We've seen this so many times in the last few years. When Chinese companies see a certain amount of success, they suddenly use forced labor, leak private data, and are national security risks. It's the same playbook every time. Now, with regards to tax avoidance accusations, I think all companies do their best to pay as little tax as possible. That's in the best interest of their shareholders. So really, I think that's up to lawmakers to close those loopholes when they find them. Now, the one accusation, apart from the products I sell on Temu, is that of quality control. At some point, basically at a certain price, it does become difficult to maintain high quality. But we live in a consumer ratings obsessed world. So if your product doesn't turn out to be what it said in the description, or not the good enough quality, or more often than not, you can just return it. If you're really unhappy, leave a negative review, although do seriously think about that before you leave a negative review, because it really, really affects the seller. But the option's there. So I suppose the point is, even as Temu grows, it's constantly under the microscope, and it feels at this stage more so than other companies, especially other American companies. So contrary to popular belief, Temu isn't copying Amazon. It's copying Pinduoduo's war playbook. Lose money, buy users, build habit, control the market. It worked once in China, and it might work again globally, but it's not a guaranteed win. Governments are watching, trust is hard to build, and eventually the cash burn has to stop, surely. Still, if you're Amazon, Shein, or Walmart, or any of the other retailers, you're watching Temu very, very closely. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of Temu, whether you've used the app, whether you've bought things, whether you've helped people get cheaper prices. What do you think? And let me know which country you've used Temu in, because I find that really, really interesting. Guys, again, thank you very much for watching. This has been Toby's Takeaway. If you enjoyed this, please do like and subscribe to the channel. That's it here in China. Toby's Takeaway. 谢谢，再见，拜拜。